I'm Saulo Bahia. I teach international law at the Federal University of Bahia, Brazil, and I'm federal judge there too. And I will share some ideas about social power, law, and society with you. And the coordination gave to me some topics, some questions, some issues. And there I tried to develop in my paper. And the paper, the revised version was published in the Cadmus journal. Well, the issues were how does power become institutionalized in formal social organizations? What is the source of political power and how is it converted into institutions of governance? How is legal power generated by society and how does it grow? What is the relationship between legal power and the consent of the governed? What is the role of human rights in fostering the distribution of social power? And finally, how has society enhanced access and equitable distribution of power in recent centuries? And I imagine as structure of the article the rise of institutions, law and institutions, political power, consent of the governed, and human rights and distribution of human rights. Well, first thought is the rise of institutions. There is a citation of Aristotle. From these things, therefore, it is clear that the city-state is a natural growth, and that man is by nature a political animal, and a man that is by nature, and not merely by fortune. Citless is either low in the scale of humanity or above it, inasmuch as he is solitary, like an isolated piece at the door. Well, Aristotle told that city-state was a natural growth of the humanity, and defined human being as a gregarious, social, and political animal. And city-states, or nowadays states, are a natural consequence of human character. It's a natural growth, and life in society demands a set of conditions or organization between individuals. Anarchy, or absence of rules, would bring to an end the possibility of living together. These conditions or organization is a complex system of duties and responsibilities. For each arrangement, we will find a specific institution. Then for me, an institution is no more than a system of duties and rights. An institution is born inside the society. An institution is a consequence of the relationship between individuals, and this relationship is come with a system of duties and rights. For instance, we have a family. It's maybe our first institution, and the family is basically a system of duties and rights, and created a natural selection. Communities that didn't organize themselves in families will not be prepared to give continuity to this species, to the human species, because it was necessary to organize the small group, the child, take care about them, feed, give food to them, and so to grant the growth that the child will grow up. And the state is another kind of institution because it was necessary to organize the scarce resource, to create protection against enemies, to create the conditions to the development. And the state was basically hierarchy, specialization of activities, coordination of activities, integration of activities between individuals to create better conditions to the survival of the species. Protection against all kind of difficulties, all the challenges that the community has to win. And after this, I started talking about law and institutions to conclude that law is very well related with power. Law is power. Because law, what's law? I teach law. I teach international law, I teach general theory of law. And the idea is that the relationship between individuals, the law can grant or retain the permanence or stability of these relationships, creating a system of hierarchy that can grant the continuity of this model of relationships, can stabilize the relationship between the individuals of the society. This kind of stabilization creates some roles, some positions, some interests, and distinguish people, individuals inside the society. And the force of the hierarchy is to establish sanctions. The hierarchy allows enforcement, the law brings sanctions, social, juridical sanctions, and these sanctions will grant the continuity, the stabilization, the life for the institutions. Law is so interinstitutional policy, and power becomes institutionalized in society by law. The power will be institutionalized by law. Law is an institution for maintaining institutions inside the society. Law changes because the relationship, the positions will change always with the development of the society, the new needs of the society, the new goods, the new possibilities, the new capacities. The law is always trying to be adapted to the new circumstance. If the law is not adapted to the new circumstance, we will have a dysfunctional law, a dysfunctional rule, and without a legitimacy. But the legitimacy is the theme, the topic of my friend Winston. More 2 days he will speak about that. Political power. Well, political institutions are defined and circumscribed by law. And what is the work of the state? Creating hierarchy, integration, coordination, specialization is the basis for government activities. And it's an political institution is an institution because established is nothing else than a system of duties and responsibilities and so on. And the question was, what is the relationship between legal power and the consent of the government? Well, I put the juridical rules must get the acceptance of the government. Consensus is the basis for law. There is a construction that I put also. Abraham Lincoln used this expression to explain the democracy. And he thought that it's possible to impose authoritarian rules on some individuals or a specific group all the time. It is possible to impose these rules on all the individuals, perhaps a few times, but the history has not registered an instance of imposition of laws by authority on all the people, all the time, or most of the times, without a minimum level of acceptance. Even when we live under authoritarian government, probably we accept it. We have a level of tolerance, and we believe that it's better the security that this kind of government intends to give to us than democracy or another thing, but there is acceptance. Without acceptance, even the worst and strongest government will not survive without a minimum level of acceptance. Almost all the time. For a few times, yes, he can act, but for a long, long time, it's impossible. And speaking about democracy, democracy has the advantage of facilitating the permanent and contemporaneous control of the creation and modification of juridical rules. Legal rules, when established without link with the true aspirations and values of the society, tend to be deprived of their legitimacy and treat toward the lack of applicability to the real world. Formal and informal insurrections will come out, official clashes will take place, government support will become increasingly fragile, and in the course of time it will have necessarily opened new paths of models for the political governance. Well, why I put it? To conclude that social power, the power of the members of the society, the power of the individuals, is like a constituent power and is always potential and belongs to the people. The source of the social power, is the collective, is my conclusion. Social power belongs to the individuals, to the collective, is always potential because the legitimacy stay with the collective. And in law, we can always incriminate a rule saying that there is no more legitimacy of the rule and we have to abandon, to put away the rule. And finally, the last idea that I bring to the article was related with human rights and distribution of social power. To conclude that only human rights consented by the people must be adopted by law. Human rights are historical, evolutionary, verbal, and there is a special substance, a concrete substance of each human right in a certain time and space. There is variations during our history. The content of the liberty, the freedom is not the same today than a century, 100 years ago. And because now we have another idea about freedom that we don't have before. We live under other circumstances. Justice is another idea. It's basically consensus, rational consensus, not imposed consensus. It's a rational consensus. And I create a relation between human rights, advancement in human rights, and the increase of solidarity and equality, to conclude that The history of advancement in human rights means the history of an increase of solidarity and equality. Only when solidarity and equality develop are individual, collective, and social rights reinforced and can be experienced. Solidarity and equality indicate that some difference among individuals are merely secondary and accidental, and are unable to provide the true reasons for discrimination. The idea that I exposed in my role as panelist half hour ago is the altruism arises from the identity of individuals. We need altruism. We need identity. We need solidarity, equality to develop human rights, to live under human rights. It's necessary to identify the common traits of common mankind, common core values. It's the effort that we have to have when we talk about human rights, distribution of social power, construction of a new society, development. I put in my article, these feelings and values show that the other individual can be seen like any other, considered by the observer as unequal, creating proximity and empathy. These values suggest that the difference of gender, race, nationality, and so on are commonly and generally irrelevant, and that the other individual has more things in common with us than differences. It allows us to see what really matters, the presence of common humanity in each one. I used an article about social power written by Janani Harish. Today, clan loyalty or fierce journalism is increasingly giving way to a growing sense among many people that we all share a common identity and destiny as human beings. Society is evolving from the nation-state to the human community. I mentioned Marta Neskovich, too. We consider that the recognition of equal values of diverse human capacities is a necessary step towards the individual accomplishment acquired through the expression of unique potential. And my conclusion was our common core values must be pursued. These values provide the best life and promote solidarity and altruism. After all, human development requires unselfishness, and human rights have their roots in our humanity. Altruism necessarily arises from the identity of individuals. It's necessary to identify the essential traits of common mankind in each of us. This is the essence and the goal of social power. And related with all I talked about the nation state, that was very useful to create identity between individuals. But nowadays, I don't know if our identity can be granted by nation states anymore. I believe that if you insist with the nation state system, we will retain or will create a permanence of difference that put us far from the common core values, far from human identity, far from the best or the right conditions to solve our challenges. And it's a moment to discuss the theme of multiculturalism and to acquire the comprehension of what is necessary to have in common, what's necessary to share, what is basic for each human being, and create this identity and promote more development, promote more better conditions of life, living together. It's some ideas that I would like to change, to discuss. Here I'm open to the discussion. I have two panelists, and I will be grateful for your attention. Thank you.